Is she blown up? We don't know. Today, we're gonna figure out what's wrong with this turd. So, I'm gonna get in and we're gonna go to AutoZone. I'm gonna get some thermostats and a radiator hose and probably some coolant and some other things like that. So stay tuned. On our way there, I'm gonna tell you kind of the issues I've been seeing with this thing. Before we get started, I kind of wanted to get you guys excited for the next build on the channel. We are putting an LBZ Duramax and all the drivetrain, all the stuff from a Duramax swap into a 2500 Suburban. Well, this is actually a GMC Yukon, but they are pretty much the same thing. So if that is something that you guys are excited to see, make sure you stay tuned and Assinate right here because it's going down. My last video, I actually tore down a wall in my garage. This was the old living room. You can see there's a ceiling fan in there still. I'm gonna do a few things, paint that, do some drywall work, and put some lights back there. But that is pretty much ready to go. Need to move some stuff around in this garage. It gets smaller every time I look at it, it seems like. But anyway, stay tuned for this because we're working on this LBZ today. Before we get going, guys, just to let you know, this is going to be a little bit of a talking video, so stay tuned and you'll see pretty much a little backstory on the whole truck. If you don't like that kind of stuff, just go to my channel and click on a different video because this is not what I usually do, but it is going to be some talking, so here we go. All right, so to give you guys a little backstory on basically what's been going on with this truck, I went to buy that parts truck for the Suburban swap, and that was about 3 hours away, and I took a friend's trailer, went over to buy that, and we basically put it on the trailer and I towed it home like 3 hours. So right before that, I kind of went through the truck. I didn't really drive it that much because I was driving the Suburban, but I kind of looked over the truck and I noticed that the coolant level was low, not really low to be, you know, concerned with, but I was like, you know, I haven't driven it very far in a long time. I've never had any issues ever since I did the head gaskets myself, never leaked a drop of anything. And I'm like, all right, I have a bottle of coolant and let me add some to it. So I added it to like the fill line, like, you know, stop here when it's full or whatever, in the coolant tank. And I drove it, you know, up north to pick up that truck and bring it back. Well, I hadn't towed anything with this truck in a long time. Honestly, I never tow anything with it. I have a light tow tune with the turbo brake, and you know, you put it in tow haul. So I towed it back 3 hours and it drove absolutely amazing. I mean, it didn't skip a beat, and I really couldn't complain about that. But the next morning, I parked in front of my house, came outside, and there was a puddle of coolant under it. And I'm like, all right, awesome. So after that, it started getting cold out and they were salting the roads and stuff, and I try not to drive this truck in the salt. So I parked it in my driveway and didn't really think anything of it. And I just didn't really want to worry about it at the time. So I drove the Suburban. Well, recently the Suburban transfer case started making some noise, so I'm like, all right, well, now it's March and it's kind of warm out and whatever. Kind of stopped snowing in Ohio, so I'll drive this thing, I'll park the Suburban, and we'll get going on the swap. Make sure you stay tuned for that because I can't wait. So I drove it the other day. I pulled in my driveway. Actually, my daughter was with me, sitting right here in the middle. She's not even 2 years old yet, so it's kind of funny to have her in the car seat next to me and talk to me while we're driving. But she fell asleep on my way home, so I pulled in my driveway and I sat there for 15 or 20 minutes and just kind of checked up on my phone while she was asleep because I didn't want to get her out of her car seat just yet. And I get out and there's a puddle of coolant under it. It was running the whole time in my driveway for 15 to 20 minutes, and there was a puddle of coolant under it again. So that's when I made the for sale post on Instagram. If you follow me, man, I kind of panicked, and I just realized I don't want to have a vehicle that has problems. I want to go buy a Honda Pilot or a Honda Accord or something like that, just so I can drive her around and not have any issues. So I posted it for sale. All these people are freaking out, blah, blah, blah. I literally would have sold it that day or even this week for what I was asking. If you want to see my Instagram, go check it out. But I've kind of thought about it, and I'm wondering if I overfilled it with coolant and it just pushed itself out basically when it got warm. So I don't know if that's possible. Throw down in the comments below. I'm not necessarily an expert on this stuff, but I've driven this truck for 3 years now with no issues with the head gaskets. It's got ARP studs. I got the heads surfaced from a pretty reputable shop around us. Did every possible thing I could have in the engine bay to make sure this was a reliable truck. So just now I went and bought thermostats, coolant, and an upper radiator hose. And the reason I bought thermostats just now is because when I did all that stuff, that was 3 years ago, I replaced the thermostats. I don't know what brand I used, probably AutoZone. I can't even remember. But that was 3 years ago, so maybe that's the problem, and maybe I overfilled it with coolant. So right now we're gonna replace thermostats and the upper radiator hose. I'll probably do a how-to video on that separately, but I'm gonna do that and get back to you, and we are gonna kind of test drive this thing around, and I'm gonna make sure I bleed the cooling system correctly and do not overfill it with coolant. And I'll drive it around for a couple days, probably come back to you on this video, and we will figure out if this thing is blown up or not. If it is, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I would sell it for sure if somebody wanted to come buy it. You know, full disclosure, it's blown up, or whether it is or whether it's not. I'll disclose everything. I have a YouTube channel that has everything about this truck. I have social media. I'm not gonna screw anybody over. So it's nothing like that. But if it comes down to it and I fix the problem, I'm going to run this truck for this season with the wheels I have, and then I might sell it at the end of the season because I just have bigger plans for the YouTube channel. I want to get other trucks. I want to work on other things. I've had this truck for a very long time, and I want to put money into other things and other projects, and I think it would be super fun and super interesting for you guys and for me to work on something different. But stay tuned, and we're gonna dig into this a little further. Hopefully you're not bored of me talking the whole time. I know this is kind of a talking video and I don't usually do this, but I do want to show everything that's going on with this truck, so stay tuned, and we're gonna replace that stuff and see what happens. All right, guys, got the first thermostat out. It looks pretty clean, honestly, so I don't know. I've got my doubts, but we shall see. All right, guys, new hose installed. Thermostats are good under here. Had the bleeder screw out, and I filled this up with coolant, and it started coming out of the bleeder screw, but it was on my driveway, so little bit of an angle. I don't know if that's gonna mess with this. I'm just gonna drive it kind of down the street. I really need to get gas, and there's a gas station a couple miles away, so I'm gonna do that and keep you guys updated. This thing looks so good. I'd hate to get rid of it, but kind of over it. I hate to say it, but just want something else. All right, guys, everyone say hi to Daisy. I don't usually have her on the channel because I don't want it to be based around the kiddo, but we did replace the thermostats and the upper radiator hose. I'm gonna try to do this kind of one-handed here, but Drove it a good amount today. Took it down the highway, and pretty far drive for a normal day. Duramax just drove by. I've never seen that. Pretty cool looking. Drove it probably half an hour. Hey, you. She's trying to grab the camera. Drove it for probably half an hour, and no pressure whatsoever. And it does not feel like anything is leaking. It would definitely be wet under here, and it is dry. So I don't know if I just fixed the problem. It still smells like coolant, but that is probably because a lot of coolant drained like all over the engine bay of this thing. So hopefully we just fixed the problem and I don't have to sell the thing, but don't really want to sell it. Don't know what I want to do with it yet, but if it's fixed, then we will throw the wheels on, of course, and we'll go from there. So hopefully we don't have any more issues like that, but stay tuned to Nasty Nate. We'll catch you in the next one.